Hi everyone, so the Titan Quest 2 early access is out. I've been blasting this quite a lot. I've made a lot of different builds, which by the way, you can also find on my Discord, for example. So if you go here to my Titan Quest channel in the other games section, I have a pin here, for example, where I have a bit of like a summary of all the builds I've played, which were 8 in total. So I've been blasting quite a lot, and well, we only have Act 1 right now, but a lot of people have been asking me for my builds, so I wanted to show off some of them here. So what we got here right now is a Battlemage. This is a warfare herb guy, and it's basically like a big bonker. It feels a bit like Upheaval, Barb or something in D4, for example. So like a melee dude swinging a big two-handed weapon and just kind of blasting through packs. On top of that, we have a bunch of little fire stuff going on. I actually convert my damage to fire with the Earth Enchantment Aura, and I scale fire damage. So overall, this just feels really fun and smooth from the start. It doesn't have the craziest boss damage, but it is pretty solid, and even melts like the hippocampus plus 3 to 5 levels or so in like 10 or 20 seconds. So it's kind of all right. But the strength of this build is certainly just blasting through AoE packs with this fissure. So we have this usually earth spell that is converted into an attack thanks to one of the upgrades. And then we bonk stuff with our heavy attack on single target. So you have like a nice little combo between two different skills, and here and there you can also just do like the primary attack swing for a bit of like free extra damage because it costs basically nothing. So sometimes you finish off like the last guy with that, and you have a pretty good like mana economy while having a nice mix of single target and AoE damage, and it's super fun to play. So this is my current character right now, level 23. So I've basically just played through the thing. I didn't really like farm up crazy gear or something like that. Just gonna show this a little bit. I actually have like a relatively bad weapon for this, to be fair. Since it has like the wrong damage types on it that I can't really scale with, and this is just the stuff I have. So the main stats here is basically you want energy regeneration. This just helps you to kind of sustain your energy a bit more, because fissure can be a bit costly when you want to spam it. But most of the time you do like 1 or 2 fissures in a pack, maybe a heavy attack on the big guy, and then you kind of like swing a few times for like the last remaining dude or so that lives. Or sometimes you also just like one tap the entire pack with the fissure. So this is kind of how that goes. So it's okay to get away with like less energy per second on this build, maybe have a bit more health per second, for example, because you're like mostly in melee range, and that helps you to survive. For the stats, I've fully invested into might. So this is almost 100% might with a bit of vigor, for example, because we are doing fire damage here. So we want to try to get the resolve up. So this can be done with vigor, might, and knowledge, but we don't really want to use these knowledge items. You want to have big bonker weapons, and in this case, you want a lot of might to actually wear those. And here's the tree. So we start out with warfare. So I chose heavy attack first, and then once you get the second mastery, then we went for the fissure. And fissure has an upgrade where it becomes a slam attack, so it uses a melee weapon. Usually this is a spell, but with this we can actually scale both those skills together. So here we can just go for like a big two-handed weapon, and then we can have a bunch of other modifiers. The biggest one here is the additional fissure. So you have a cone of 3 of them, so you have better coverage. You can't shotgun with them, unfortunately, but it still helps a lot to take down the packs. And the rest is just like some small damage upgrades here. So the Staggering Force, you get a small damage upgrade and the stun chance. You can also just put a 4th point into enhanced damage, for example. I chose 1 point in interrupt, which was really nice, just so I can kind of spam it whenever there's like a caster in a pack, because more often than not, you actually hit something with this and interrupt it and deal more damage. And this just also refunds energy, so it just helps you out in general. And here for heavy attack, you see I actually don't have that many points in it. The biggest thing here is second hit, so that's the first thing I spec. You get 2 attacks for the price of 1. It makes it a bit slower, it does less damage, but overall it's like a lot more energy efficient and just higher DPS. And then we have the wind up as well. So it becomes even slower, but even more damage. So this is basically you wait for the right moment, for example, in a boss fight, where you have like maybe a second or 2 to actually swing. And then you do a lot of damage with this double attack. So it just looks like this here, where it's like ding, ding. And each of those hits does like 1 to 2k damage or something. Besides that, in the Earth tree, we kind of max this one out first, because you see we pick up a lot of different skills here. On the warfare side, there's not really that crazy stuff. We have to leap just to go a bit faster, which is nice. And we have the battlefield awareness, gives us armor and a bit of energy regeneration, for example. But on the earth side, we have a lot of stuff here. So first is the flame volley. So here's orbit. This makes it automatic. So it just kind of like shoots free fire damage on enemies. So it's kind of nice. and you can also trigger the ignites. So while we don't really scale spell damage here because this is a spell, we still get ignites and they still do some damage once it procs. And later on, once I have higher levels, I would also go for the resistance reduction here. Then we have the Earth Enchantment. This is kind of important because we convert everything to fire. Technically not really required, but I kind of wanted to make that fire synergy work since I was already speccing into Earth. And it was kind of fun to do fire damage with this. And this also allows us to, for example, get more out of Ignite, out of Flame Volley, and also the Ring of Flame, which are all fire spells. So converting your attacks to fire then helps to also get a bit of damage out of these here, in order to just scale everything at the same time. On core, I didn't really invest into anything, so you can go for a bit of like dodge modifiers, like distance, for example, or the teleport if you want. I had like 1 point in Indomitable. This is kind of nice, especially early game. Later, probably not really so required. And then we have the passives. So here it's mostly just like a lot of like attack speed, weapon damage, fire damage, and that kind of stuff that we try to add up here. So there's a bunch of really useful passives here on the warfare tree, like the weapon proficiency. Then we have the combat rush. This is a really important one you will try to get as soon as possible. This is a lot of damage and movement speed every time you swing, so it's very nice. And then also Heart of Battle is very good. And here on the Earth side, there's also like maximum energy, just helps you. There's a bit of regen you can get, for example. Here's attack damage. Here's fire damage, and here's also combustion, where sometimes you get these extra pops. And that's pretty much it. So you just make sure you have your auras on. You can leap around pretty often because of the extra cooldown you can get on the skill. There's like a one where it costs less and has lower cooldown. And then it's just like, you know, fissure into packs. Just press your mana potion if you need to, but usually 1 or 2 fissures is fine, which doesn't cost that much. And then you just heavy attack the big dudes. So it doesn't have the craziest boss damage, but it works just fine. And then for farming, it's actually really good because of just how easily you blast down AoE. On top of that, don't forget to activate the Ring of Flame. This just helps you out a little bit with some free damage. And it also gives you a damage buff by itself, so you want to use that as often as you can. And that's it. Pretty simple setup. I had a ton of fun with this and it was pretty effective, so hope you enjoyed this if you're playing some Titan Quest 2. Otherwise, this is definitely one of the probably first builds I will continue whenever Act 2 comes out, so in a few months I guess I'll come back and we'll see how this will go. For now, that's what I got here. So join the Discord if you want to discuss more or see my other builds. Otherwise, stay tuned for other uploads and I'll see you guys next time.